Shortly after the fall of communism, I went with my father and my daughter Michal to the village where my father was born, the village of Delatin in the Ukraine. He left there in 1930 for Amsterdam, not knowing that he would never see his family again. The Nazis killed all the Jews of Delatin. Except for the neglected cemetery, nothing was left of Delatin's once vibrant Jewish life. My father always spoke with nostalgia of the Hasidic community that once existed in the shtetl of Delatin, and particularly of his rabbi, Reb Naftali, who meant a great deal to him. After my father's death, I felt the need to discover the Hasidic world of today. So I set out for Israel. I grew up in Amsterdam after the Second World War, without Hasidim. Except for my father's stories and the few Hasidic customs that remained in our household, I knew very little about the Hasidim or their way of life. Their striking 18th century Eastern European appearance, their isolated ultra-Orthodox lifestyle preoccupied me whenever I saw a Hasid, and I had a strong desire to know more about them. Finally, I was able to enter their mysterious life. I discovered that the essence of Hasidism is Dveikut. Dveikut means the mystic link of the Hasid with God. It fascinated me tremendously, and I witnessed how through intense experience of prayer and complete surrender to singing and dancing, their spiritual side can be freed to make contact with the Creator. The rabbi is the Hasid's spiritual guide, linking his people to God. He cares for them, showering them with chesed, loving kindness, another central element of Hasidism. On the occasion of his son's wedding, I saw how the rabbi provides food and money to the poor. My own parents came from that area of Poland and Ukraine where Hasidism first took root. As I made this film, a sense of mystery and miracle seemed to pull me along. Ultimately, it led me to an unexpected encounter with the grandson and the great-grandson of my father's very own rabbi, Reb Naftali Ehrlich of Delatin. He was the Moel who circumcised my father, and from the age of 3 he had been my father's teacher at the Geider, the Jewish school. My father told me how Reb Naftali stood up for the Jews in the shtetl. These stories made such a vivid impression on me that when my own son was born, I named him after Reb Naftali. When I started my journey into the Hasidic world, a miracle happened. The very first Hasid I met in Jerusalem's ultra-Orthodox Mea Shearim quarter was Rabbi Shaya Rottenberg. He turned out to be the great-grandson of my father's rabbi. Shaya guided me into the spiritual world of Hasidism.
The Baal Shem Tov said, we should always, in every way and in everything in life, we should always be happy. The high spirit could not come to a person when he's not happy. He has to be happy in order to be able to connect with the high spirits.
Shaya told me that the Spinka Hasidim in Bnei Brak, near Tel Aviv, are also linked to the dynasty of my father's rabbi. So I went to visit them with my son, Naftali. Despite our contrasting lifestyles, my son immediately received a warm welcome from the Spinka rabbi, who invited him to dance. It was the first of many more meetings during which I joined the Spinka Hasidim in their festivities. I had to do much of the filming under difficult conditions, going into places where cameras had never been allowed before. My journey into the Hasidic community enabled me to discover a way of life that the Nazi Holocaust had destroyed in Eastern Europe, a way of life that was reborn in Israel. Shaya lives with his wife and 9 children in the Mea Shearim quarter of Jerusalem. He proudly told me that his sister has 17 children. Each family belongs to one of the many different Hasidic groups, each with its own rabbi, its own specific clothing, melodies and traditions, some with few followers, others with a great many. The Vizhnitz Hasidim have a lot of followers. They originated in an Eastern European town with the same name, located not far from where my father was born. It was in that region that the Jewish mystical movement was founded in the 18th century by Rabbi Israel Baal Shem Tov, the master of the good name. It was a time of spiritual decline and persecution that the Baal Shem Tov drew upon a centuries-old tradition of Jewish mysticism. He sparked a religious renaissance. I wanted to know what it was that the Baal Shem Tov had been able to set free in the Jewish people. Rabbi Yitzchak Ginsburg, a member of the Lubavitch Hasidim, was willing to talk about the mystic background of Hasidism. He is a former American mathematician and one of the prominent scholars of Jewish mysticism in Israel.
The Hasidic movement was founded over 250 years ago by the Baal Shem Tov. Very often we summarize the points, the most basic points of the doctrine, the teaching of the Baal Shem Tov into four basic ideas. The first of which is the all-inclusive and unconditional love for every single Jewish soul, and extending from that to every part of creation, every created being, that in a way that was never taught before. It's called Ahavat Yisrael, the love of Israel, unconditional.
The Baal Shem Tov touched the hearts of the Jewish masses by supplementing religious study with an intense and joyful experience of prayer, the Veikut. The Baal Shem Tov was a tzaddik, a just one, a rabbi who worked miracles and showed his followers the path to God. Traditional rabbis rejected the emphasis on piety and emotion over formal study, but Hasidism's appeal was too strong to be denied. As I looked beyond the singing and dancing, the meditation and ecstasy, I slowly entered the world of Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism that penetrates the secrets of the Torah. I experienced the sense of devotion and surrender that leads the Hasidim to God and to themselves. Another group I met were the Gur Hasidim. I tried to get close to their rabbi, but could see him only from far. The synagogue was packed with thousands of his followers, trying to absorb some of his spiritual radiation. The Gur rabbi is very charismatic and has total influence on the life of his followers. In all family affairs, they consult the rabbi. I experienced penetrating silences, alternating with intense, massive singing, and I could feel moments of dveikut, electrifying the Hasidim into a state of ecstasy.
The second point is the importance of spiritually always retaining a psychological state of joy, never falling into depression or despair, and recognizing that just by being happy, a happy and joyful soul, this in itself is a very high way of serving one's Creator, of serving God.
Sitting with a Rebbe for 3, 4, or 5 hours and singing, towards the end you feel so highlighted. But the more you get, the more you want. When you get to taste a little bit, you want more of it. And then you start singing again, the same words. Tzamu, 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 lechu, nafshi. Living in Jerusalem finds me as a follower of the rabbi of the Toldot Avram Yitzchak group. It's an old Hasidic group in Mea She'arim, wearing the traditional Jerusalem Hasidic clothes. My father himself is a rabbi in New York, but in Israel we have no branch. My father is the Rebbe of Koson. It's a branch out of Zidichov, and the main point in Zidichov is practicing everything that we do in the Kabbalistic way.
Many Hasidic dynasties are linked through marriage. The Spinker Hasidim are also a branch of Zidichov, like Shaya's family. The Spinker rabbi invited me to share his joy as he celebrated his son's bar mitzvah, his coming of age according to Jewish law. The boy was honored by a visit from Israel's preeminent Hasidic spiritual leaders, the Gur and Vishnitz rabbis. For me, it was an exciting and special moment to see them, this time from nearby.
Point number 3 is that all of the mitzvot, all of the commandments, the 613 commandments, all of them are a way to consciously feel dveikut, which means clinging. They were given to us in order to experience a state of clinging, of dveikut, to our Creator, to God who gave us these commandments. Before Chassidut, a mitzvah was performed simply because this is the will of God, and that's obviously very fundamental. But Chassidut came and added a new dimension that together with that, one must experience in the commandment itself while doing it fervor, great fervor, knowing that I am now becoming one, my soul is merging together and becoming one with God. Not only does one serve God in the explicit 613 commandments of the Torah, but in addition, in every mundane act and event that a person does in his life, whether he eats or whether he walks, or whatever he does in his life, it is possible to contact one's Creator, the creation, in that mundane event itself.
To obtain a better understanding of Hasidic beliefs and life, I had to seek out the roots of Jewish mysticism and Kabbalah. So I traveled to Mount Meron in Israel's northern Galilee region. I couldn't help but be impressed at the sight of so many thousands of people making their yearly pilgrimage to the grave of the great Jewish sage, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. His death, some 2,000 years ago, is remembered during the annual Lag BaOmer festival. It's a huge celebration, bringing together many segments of Israeli society. According to tradition, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai established a school of mysticism and wrote the Zohar, the Book of Splendor, the essential book of Kabbalah or Jewish mysticism. Yuval Asherov lives near Meron and studies the Kabbalah daily. He talked to me about its background.
Rabbi Shimon lived approximately 2,000 years ago, after the destruction of the Second Temple, when the Roman governed Israel. The main message from Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai is that the Torah, the Bible, is not simple stories. Within these stories there is a deep message for what is the goal of a person in the world. And a person must learn it and fulfill it. Otherwise he leaves this world and he has to come back again and again until he learns. And all the Torah is stories that cover a message. There is a real story that belongs to each one of us. How to release the neshama from the body, from the jail of the body. And Rabbi Shimon revealed the inner story and gave it to every Jew. And he says the main work that we should do is to transform the receiving into giving. That in order to cleave to the light, you have to be like the light. And if a person receives this level, it's called the tzaddik. Tzaddik is the one who is always connected to Hashem, always connected to his Creator. Means he's full of light. That's why here in Lag BaOmer, you see hundreds of thousands of people from all kinds of people, like people who observe Judaism, people who don't observe Judaism, because it's not their mind working that they come here, but the neshama is attracted to their source, to the tzaddik, and they feel that he's giving them something. So you see very simple people coming 2 weeks before, putting a tent, sleeping on the floor, and believing and having a strong faith that the tzaddik is helping them. Light a big fire, because when a tzaddik dies, we do ner neshama, candle for the soul. So Rabbi Shimon is so great, we do a big candle. And this is this fire, yeah. A big candle to show who was Rabbi Shimon.
Hasidic boys have their hair cut for the first time at the age of 3. My parents observed this tradition with me, and so did I with my son Naftali.
It's a tradition in Lag BaOmer to do halakha to children, small children, in 3 years old. So we take them to the grave of Rabbi Shimon, we cut their hair, we leave only the peos. Peos is the above the ears, the arpeot. And it is really a symbol for a Jew. It's like a crown of a Jew to have the peos. It's the only thing that is special for a Jew, to have these 2 peot. And the reason he do it in 3 years old is because this is the time where a baby stops being a baby. Until 3 years old, he's eating from his mother. From 3 years old and on, he's more mature. Jew, he cuts all the upper part, which is more judgment, and he leaves all the part which is mercy, giving, imparting, which is, it's called sweetening in Kabbalah. All the judgment from above is sweetened in the beard, and so he doesn't touch the beard.
"200 years before Hasidut came the greatest master of the mystic tradition of Judaism, whose name is Rabbi Yitzchak Luria, the Arizal. He is actually the second great soul that descended into this world to reveal the Kabbalah, the inner dimension of the Torah. The first is Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. The Tana was over 1,000 years previous that according to tradition, composed the Sefer HaZohar, the Book of Splendor. But afterwards, the master who, in detail, described all the secrets of the creative process, all of the worlds, the multitude of the evolutionary process and the inter-inclusion and the souls and the bodies of worlds at many levels in great detail, is the Arizal.
From Mount Meron, I traveled to nearby Sfat. This is the city of mysticism, site of the grave of Rabbi Isaac Luria, also known as the Ari. He was a great scholar of Kabbalah and is considered holy by many Hasidim. It was here, back in the 16th century, that the Ari opened the door of the Zohar, the book of Jewish mysticism. He made the Kabbalah practical and accessible. His work inspired countless generations of Jews and continues to do so. In Sfat, I met Rabbi Koenig, a famous scholar who heads the Talmudic College of the Bratslav Hasidim.
אומר הבעל שם טוב, שמשם, מהמקום שאתם נמצאים, בתוך גודל ההסתר, אם תבקשו את השם, תחפשו אותו, הוא יתגלה לכם בתוך המצב הזה. זהו העניין הנפלא שהחסידות מגלה ונותנת חוזק ואומץ לא להתייאש.
In Sfat and in Jerusalem, I met the Bratslav Hasidim. A large number of them are former hippies from around the world with a non-religious background who were attracted to Rabbi Nachman of Bratslav, the great-grandson of the Baal Shem Tov. Unlike other Hasidic leaders, Rabbi Nachman was not succeeded after his death. He told his followers that he would always remain with them. Rabbi Nachman was a great storyteller, and he was the last master of Kabbalah meditation, teaching his followers a classical form of meditation while praying at midnight out in the field, close to nature.
I come to this area, to the north, to Tzfat, and in this area you feel that your heart goes straight to heaven, have no stop, have no station. And after that I see that this place was with the Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, Ari HaKadosh, and all the mysticism of the Kabbalah. And the people, the holy people, wherever they go, they feel they left the holiness in this place. So I contact with it, and this make me very happy.
Painting is a kind of meditation. When you paint, you tell yourself a story that you don't know. You discover yourself. You discover elements that that are concealed in yourself, that you are not aware of them. And by painting, you reveal them to yourself first, and then to the other people. Hasidut, it's also an art. It's the art of fixing the world and being happy, of resolving the part of question, of problem that you have to resolve. And you are the only one to be able to do it. Nobody can do it in your place. So for this you need a master, you need a teacher. So the providence of God guides a soul to the master who can fix this soul and help him. One of the bases of the Jewish faith is that if someone transcends natural laws, he becomes immortal, he becomes eternal, and his soul continues to exist forever, despite there is no physical envelope to it. This is one of the basics of Judaism. It's called Triyat HaMetim, resurrection. Now, we believe that Rabbi Nachman is alive, and we have a rabbi, but we cannot see his body. We cannot see him physically, but we have a rabbi, we have a leader.
Rabbi Nachman in Breslev, he say that every midnight you have to go to the field to find a place that there is no people and no things from the material world, only from the spiritual world. And here is very, very place like this, like you can feel the stones talking, you can feel the sound of the wind, so you can be with it, and then your heart is open and you can speak with God.
Rabbi Nachman said to talk to God, so I do it. And I must say that in these 20 years, I had, say, like 5 times a mystical experience. Mystical experience means to encounter God, to feel He's here, I'm talking to Him like I'm talking to you now.
You can feel the answers. It's not something that you can touch, it's not something that you can record, it's not something that you can prove, but it's feeling. It's a very delicate feeling, and as long as you exercise it, you just wait for this feeling to hear the noise of God.
Shaya and I became close friends, as if we had been reunited after many years. A gap of more than 60 years seems to be bridged in my mind, and the Delatine stories of my father took on a new reality for me. Shaya taught me much about Hasidic values.
The base of Hasidut, meaning chesed, loving kindness, I would say in every suffering, if we look a little bit deeper, we'll find a purpose for that suffering which is in our favor. And instead of crying to Hashem, why did you hurt me? Say, thank you for giving me the opportunity to get what I got through this suffering. I gained something through it. Thank you for that. That's chesed, to see in everything the good part of everything that happens. And the second stage will go over in doing good with others. I would suggest you riding to Netanya and Kiryat Sanz.
I knew Netanya as a seaside resort north of Tel Aviv, not as a center of Hasidic life. The Kiryat Sanz neighborhood is a Hasidic village in the middle of the city. It was founded in the 1950s by the Klausenburg rabbi, who exemplified the new Hasidic spirit of contemporary Israel. I was impressed by this friendly community and by its story.
It started over 50 years ago during the Second World War. The Klausenburger Rebbe, Rabbi Yehuda Yekutel Halberstam, who was a descendant of the Divrei Chaim, the first Sanzer Rebbe in Poland, in a city in Poland. During the war, during the Holocaust, he lost his wife and 11 children. He himself was escaping, running from place to place. And at one of his escapes, he came to a village and was wounded. He wanted to seek help, but he was afraid because the villagers most probably will turn him to the SS. So he picked leaves from a tree and he just blocked the blood from running. And at that moment, he made a promise. If and when God will help and will survive this horrible time, I will do everything that no human being, no matter Jewish or not, religious or not, any human being who needs medical help should be able to receive it. After the war, he survived the war. He came to Israel, he bought a place in Netanya, especially Netanya, not Bnei Brak, not Yerushalayim. He didn't look for a religious community. Netanya is a beach city, many tourists. Most of the people are not religious. He built a hospital which is called Laniado Hospital, who every day by day, chesed is being performed here. It's life-saving. After the Holocaust and 1 million children were killed, this is the answer. The maternity department, and we had already by now over 50,000 births in this hospital. This is chesed, to build again the Jewish nation.